Hi and welcome. In this video I want to show you how to use a clipping mask to create a little bit of an artistic effect. Now a clipping mask lets you use the content of a layer to mask the layers above it. Now the mask is determined by the content of the base layer. The non-transparent content of the base layer clips or reveals the content of the layers above it in the clipping mask. All the other content of the clip layers is masked out. Is that clear? Well, it probably will be if I show you. Okay, first thing to do is we're going to select a text layer. So if I click on the T for text icon, and I'm going to select impact because I want a nice chunky font that I can see through, and regular, and say 72 points. And then I'm going to click in here and I'll type zoom. Now I'm going to click to accept that, and then I'll just move it a little bit. So I'll transform it and I'll just move it into the middle, and then we'll make it, because I want it to be as big as possible within the boundary, and then I'll tip it a little bit. And because I'm going to be able to see through this, what I want is I'd like his head to be in the text somewhere. So we'll probably get it somewhere like that. And maybe stretch it a bit more and then come back to there. Yeah, I think that would do. Okay, I'm going to accept that. Now we need to get this layer, the zoom layer, the text layer, underneath the background. But at the moment it won't go. And this is because we have a background layer and it's got a padlock on. So I'm going to click just to get rid of that padlock, and then it will let me click on the zoom layer, the text layer, and drag it underneath. Now obviously we can't see the text now, but what I'm going to do is create a clipping mask. So I'm going to click back on the picture layer, on the image layer, and I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and then if I just hover over this little join between them, you get that little square with a little bent arrow on. If I click on that, I've now created the clipping mask, and you can see what's happened, that everywhere that has no text on the bottom layer, which is all this up here and down here, is masked out. Anywhere that has some text, you can see through to the image. And it's not just a copy of you, it's actually a live image. So if I get my move tool, I can actually click in the image and I can move it around. And I'd like his head somewhere there, so I'm going to try and stretch it a little bit to cover this corner up. So we'll just stretch a little bit. I think that should do. That looks cool. Now there is another method of creating a clipping mask, and you can do that from the layer menu. You can go to layer and then down to here. You can see it says release clipping mask because I've already got a clipping mask on. If I click on that, you'll see that it releases that. There is no clipping mask. And then I can go back up to layer and down to create clipping mask. Or there's a keyboard shortcut of Alt, Control and G. Now I'd like a few effects on this. So I'm going to go to my zoom layer, which is my text layer. Then I'm going to go down to the FX button. And this is going to bring up my options. So we'll go for a bevel and emboss, I think, to start with. Oh, that looks quite good because I want to make it a little bit more visible. So my bevel emboss, I can go to emboss or inner bevel. I think I like that a bit better. I can play with the depth. I can play with the size. Oh, no, that's a bit too much. I'll drop that back. And just tailor it to whatever you think. And then we'll have a little bit of a drop shadow as well. And can't really see it at the moment. We'll just put a little bit of distance on it. And we're just trying to make this zoom text just stand out a little bit more. And we'll just soften that edge just a little bit. Yeah, I think that's about right. And then we'll click OK. And you can see in the layers panel now that underneath the zoom layer, we've got those effects. We've got the bevel and emboss and the drop shadow. And if we want to change it at any time, we can just go straight back into it and double click on bevel emboss or double click on drop shadow, and it'll take us straight back in. Now I'd like something in the background. So I think I'll try this original image. So I'm going to click back on the image at the top and I'm going to duplicate it with Control or Command and J. And then I'm going to drag that to the bottom of the stack. And what I'm going to do is put an effect on this. Now the first thing I need to do is to convert it to a smart object so that if I need to go back to it at any time, I can. So I'm going to right click and convert to smart object. And you'll see we've got a little doohickey in the corner there. That's me smart object. And now I can go to me filter and blur, and we'll try a radial blur. And I'll go for about 60 pixels, something like that. And I want the zoom blur. And then the blur center, I know you can click on this and move it around. It's a little bit odd because it's a square, and obviously the image isn't a square. So you've got to position it roughly where you think his head, well, I want it roughly where his head is. So I'm going to go for something like that. And that's where the blur comes out of. And then I'm going to click OK. Now if you've not got enough of that blur, or you've got too much, then because this is a smart object, you can go back into it and change it. Now let's add a bit of contrast to that background. So we'll now add another filter. So we're going to add the camera raw filter. And in here we can put any of these sliders to put any adjustments in. We'll put a bit of texture in, a little bit of clarity. I think that's fine. And then we'll go to the FX panel and we'll put a vignette in, just to darken it down around the outside, just to give it a little bit of contrast so we can see it against the text. Okay, then we'll click OK. And there we go. Now to finish off, the text is a little bit close to this left hand side, so we need to deal with that. And we just need to crop out this bit at the bottom, which is taken to transparency. So first let's deal with the text. I'm going to go to the zoom layer. Now it won't let me move it unless I use transform because it's under the influence of a clipping mask. So I'm going to press Ctrl and T and then just make this a little bit smaller. Something like that. And just reposition it so I can still get his head and we can see it. That looks about right. So we'll double click to accept that. And then we've got the crop tool and we'll just crop out that bottom piece and give it a little bit of a letterboxy sort of look to it. There we go, I quite like that. Well, that's it for this video, how to make something arty with a clipping mask. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment under the video. And if you get a minute, please subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button. That will be fantastic. I'll see you in the very next video. Bye for now.